This is the Leadway Wealth Builders Podcast, episode 192. Today, I'm breaking down the 3 top books that I read this year. So, going to be getting into those. If you haven't read these, highly recommend it. But if you haven't listened to this podcast before, this is the Leadway Wealth Builders Podcast, and my name is Chris Rickenbaugh, your host. I am documenting my journey in real estate and business, and also bringing on high-level investors to share their stories about how they built their businesses. You can follow my journey at chris.rickenbaugh on Instagram and TikTok. That's chris.reicenbach. And wherever you're listening to this podcast, thank you so much. Stay right where you are. We're also available on Spotify, YouTube, Apple, and Podbean. If you like the podcast or have any suggestions, please leave a like, rating, and review. And let's hop into today's content. So, read almost 30 books this year, and that's down a little bit from where I'm normally at, but I read some really cool ones, read some different ones that have just kind of been sitting on the shelf this year. In the beginning, or when I first really started diving into real estate and money, I was reading all the Bigger Pockets books, all these business books, and now it's kind of like that information is kind of soaked in a little bit. So now I'm kind of exploring some different areas, some different books, something that I haven't read before, and also going back and rereading a couple. And one that I'm going to talk about today, and one I'm actually currently rereading right now. But a big reason I'm down on the count is because I read the Bible from front to back. So that was a big one for me this year, and it took quite a bit of time away from some different reading, but it was, one of those goals I had on my checklist for this year, and I was able to cross it off and, kind of be able to read what everybody's talking about. So that one chewed up a ton of time. In a good way. And so I want to get into 3 of the top books that I read this year, and I'm going to save the best one for last, but one of the books that I keep rereading is Do the Impossible. So this is one that I read probably 2-3 years ago when it just got released on Bigger Pockets. But Do the Impossible by Jason Drees, it's such a great mindset book because it's really testing you to think about, what are these self-limiting beliefs that are holding you back, and what are these, where are you trying to go? Where's your mindset at? Is something feeling heavy? Is something feeling tight? Maybe it's because you're going after the wrong goal, and he's able to break that down into the frame that you're in. So this frame, I'm probably not going to be doing the best job of explaining it, but this frame is where you're currently trying to go. So if something feels heavy, or if you say, hey, this is my big goal on the board, say I want to go make $1 million and that's it. But also what's really important for me is spending time with family. So there's these 2 frames that you're in right now, and if you dive super into business, it's going to be chewing up a ton of your time. So if your goal is to be able to spend more time with family, and you're spending all of this time on your business, you're just in the wrong frame. And that's where it all revolves back around mindset and figuring out where do you exactly want to go, and breaking down, how do you actually get there? And you're able to do the impossible because you're able to break free from these different mindsets that have been holding you back and the self-limiting beliefs. So make sure you go check out that one. I go back and reread it every couple months. It just puts me right back into the mindset of, I feel like I've been getting stuck a little bit, and what I can do is I can hop into that book and really get dialed back in to start going after it. So book number 2 is The Surrender Experiment. This one was a little bit different than I thought. It was I don't have the author's name right in front of me, but if you go check it out and reread through the book, it's really detailing this guy's story, and all he's doing is documenting it from when he was in high school, gets out of high school, goes to become a yogi in the woods, surviving off very little, and he decided to, make this decision that anything that popped up, he would surrender to that. And the story develops, and it just kind of goes on, and all of a sudden he's buying more land. He starts becoming a real estate person without even really know he's being a real estate person. He's building these big events, and all of a sudden he starts coding and builds a huge company, a huge tech company that eventually gets rated, and he eventually sells. So it was so cool to be able to, read through all of these experiences, and it really is built around the point of, just surrendering to whatever comes up. And you can easily take that into your own life wherever you are and say, hey, what's feeling really, really heavy right now that I just feel like I'm pushing my head against a brick wall over and over and over? What's life telling me right now? And be able to really slow down and feel that out. And that's where he was super into yoga and super spiritual on that side of things. And, that's what they teach you. They teach you to be able to slow down and make those decisions. And that's what this book really highlights is he decided to do this with his life, and look where it took him. So maybe that's something you can take into your own life. It's something that I'm kind of running into right now, and making some pivots in my real estate and my business, because for me, flips and real estate have been really, really tough right now, and it seems like it's been really tough for everybody else with the market. So where is this leading me? What's all of this studying been, all of this reading, all of trying to figure it out? Where is this taking me, and what are these opportunities out there? So it was that's something that I'm building off of that book as well. But hopping into the last book, this one is going to be easily number one on my list, and I'm rereading it right now for a different reason that I can talk about hopefully sometime soon here. But when those details are finalized, I'll be able to go into all those details. But yes, Profit First, easily number one for this entire year. And checking out the real estate investing book. So this one was such a pivot for me because I started to find out exactly what was going on in my real estate business and why I wasn't making money. So going through a partnership, kind of like a handshake partnership that ended up going very, very sideways early on in my first year and a half of real estate, that I'm still almost through the end of it, still dealing with a couple issues. But, this one, I didn't really understand what was going on the money side. That doesn't exactly mean how I said it, but I was tracking all of the money. I was able to see, where everything was going, what was being paid, what needed owed. I tracked it down to the dollar like I do my life. But when I actually read the Profit First and then the real estate investing version, I saw what was going on behind the scenes, how the money was moving, and why the houses need to be purchased in this specific way. And it really made me take a second look at what we were doing and what this partner was teaching me and what they were doing in their own business. And it became very, very eye-opening to me on what they were doing. And then when I looked at my own business, I said, well, I'm really just doing the same thing as them because that's what they're teaching me to do. And that's when I hit the brakes on everything. So I took a big leap and was buying a lot of houses, and we were doing really good. But the problem is when you're going off of something and you're around people that are doing it incorrectly, whether you know it or not, it's going to be able to show up. So once I realized that, that's when I shut down really everything on the real estate side and said, all right, we got to figure out how to be able to get out of this mess. We started replacing people, replaced the agent, we replaced the contractors, and really have been led to a lot of different people in the area. And it turns out they've had problems with all of those people too, and they know exactly who I'm talking about. So making sure I got out of that. But these are the books that really helped me understand what was going on, because you're inside of this business every single day. So when you're able to get that outside scope and say, hey, that sounds a lot like what was going on in my business, or that's one of the issues that I'm having, there's so many extra fees that just aren't being counted. And when you're going to buy these houses, all of these little things start to add up. And when you get to the closing table, this person was helping me run the numbers. And when we get to the closing table, it's like, oh, we didn't make near as much as we thought, or how are we so far off here? I was able to go through that book and then go and apply it and see exactly where that money was going and what happened. And then I was able to take it to the partner, and they're like, oh, well, it's not like that. You don't get this. And, it's like, no, this is what you're doing wrong. And I was able to see that and get to know them. And it really, I wouldn't say it was the information in that book that helped me understand everything I was doing wrong. It was more of, it helped me think through some of the different situations that have been happening. And it really made me take a look around and ask the question of, who are these 5 people that I'm spending the most time with? Because I'm going to end up like them. And when I did that analyzing, I started looking at these other people who were around me and what was the situation, and figuring out exactly what was happening. So that was good on the numbers side to be able to break down the real estate business. And then it's like, oh, well, here was a mistake here. Here was a mistake here. And the problem was these people weren't, doing anything about these mistakes. They just kept doing it over and over and over, and you can explain it and they're not getting it. And then you start looking at, what's going on with their businesses and why they're in the position that they are. It became very, very clear on the number side. But profit first, being able to break down businesses and see if they're actually profitable, and taking your profit first before you pay off any expenses or anything else, making sure all these different accounts are set up so that it's spread out, and, percentage allocations for every dollar that comes in. That's going to really help clean up a business when it gets really consistent. And that's what's helping us go and look for some different opportunities that I'll be able to talk about soon. So that's all I got for you today. Read those top 3 books. So Profit First and The Profit First for Real Estate Investing, The Surrender Experiment, and Do the Impossible. Make sure you go check out those books because they're huge impact books for me, and I know they'll be for other people as well. That's why I just want to keep sharing exactly what I'm learning. And before we hop off, we are having another interview for episode 193. Make sure you tune into that. We're bringing on guests, these high-level investors, to be able to share their stories, how they're building their businesses, and you're not going to want to miss this one coming up next. So thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the Leadway Wealth Builders Podcast with me, Chris Rickenbaugh. I'll see you on the next one with a guest.